Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's version of Biz Essentials in our webinar series. I am going to give a few minutes for everyone to kind of get settled and logged in, and we'll get going in about 45 seconds. Okay, let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome again to today's Biz Essentials webinar. I am Amy Stark, Director of Administration for FCSI the Americas. We're so excited to have you here again this month for our webinar series. A couple of announcements before we get started. As always, remember that you can use the question and answer feature on your screen to submit questions for Sharon as we move along. Also, if you miss anything on today's webinar or want to rewatch previous episodes, these events are always recorded and available on the FCSI the Americas website. And now I'd like to welcome today's presenter. Sharon Yorio is Managing Principal at Next Phase Collaborative, a national marketing business development consultancy serving the AEC industry. She brings more than 20 years experience guiding professional services organizations with marketing and business development. Sharon has taught the principles of marketing and business development to firm principals and students at Pratt and NYU. She's a previous chapter president of the Society of Marketing Professional Services. And thank you for joining us, Sharon.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, well, let's get started. I would say, okay. All right. What are the must-haves? You must have, to have a successful effort in business development and your networking, you need a plan. And you're going to hear me say plan numerous times. I'm a big planner. You need metrics. You have to be able to evaluate. And I'm getting an echo. And you need a CRM system, which is very, very important. Okay. Let's see if it's, there we go. Now, what does your plan need to be? Your plan needs to be specific. If you say to yourself when you sit with your folks in the office and say, who shall we go after? Who do we want to network with? We want to work with every architect in our town. Well, that's just totally unrealistic. So your plan has to be specific. Think about it. Who do you work with presently? Write it down. Who do you know in that organization, what their specialty is? Who else in their organization might need food service? Get those names, get an introduction, be specific. Start out with 5, maybe 10 that you're actually going to address. It needs to be measurable. You need to be able to say, oh, I did this. I talked to them. This is what happened. It needs to be sustainable. You don't want a one-off. You want to develop a relationship. How do you do that? Continued conversations, meetings. We'll talk about all the other ways that you can continue that contact. And then it needs to be relevant. You want people that are going to use food service consultants, or if you're an industry provider, you want someone who's going to be buying your product. And it has to be time bound. Just like everything else we do, if you don't say, I'm going to talk to these people in the next 6 months. And this, your measurable is, what I'm going to get out of these 10? I'm going to have 4 meetings, and I'm ultimately going to get 2 new projects. But it's going to be in the 6 months. So then you can go back and say to yourself, did I do it or not? Okay, so how do you figure that out? Now, a scorecard can deliver the target, and it's really a simple business calculation. And I'm surprised at how many firms don't really do this. What is your annual target gross revenue? Write it down. What do you foresee? What is your forecasted backlog? That is, I've got a project that's due to start in the next 2 months, or I've done this phase, the next phase starts in the next 3 months. And then what, plus your predicted sales, things that you already have in the pipe, you have proposals out, you know you're going to win them, you just haven't inked the contract. Simple. Subtract 2 from 1, and what do you get? You get a number. That's the additional sales that you're going to need to be successful. So now with that number, who do you need to network with? What kind of a business development effort do you need? And that is where we'll go. Okay, if you look at, you want to start to screen your clients and I'm going to say that while the pandemic was attacking us all, I think we became a little less careful. We responded to every request we got, whether we thought they were going to help us or not. Now's the time. Time is money. And as you go forward now, as we start to network, as we start to really be more active in our business development efforts, we need to screen these clients. What is the volume of work we think they're going to put out in the next year or 2? And then, is it compatible with our plan, right? Are they going to have a project ready within 12 months and we're going to have that capacity? Great. We want to go after them. Understand one thing. There is data that supports from the day you initiate a contact with a client or a potential client, it takes 18 to 24 months before you see a project. So you have to understand this so you make sure that your workload continues to flow. Now, this is the old 80% of your work will come from your existing clients. And understand that during the pandemic, many of us, for whatever the reason, lost contact with our existing clients. And there's only 20% of your work that's going to come from new prospects. So you really need to get back in front of those existing clients. Make sure they know you're there and make sure they know you care. How do you initiate it? Okay, referrals. Referrals are the best. If you're doing work for ABC Architect and they're so happy with you that they give your name to a developer, or that architect maybe doesn't handle universities, he gives your name to the person that handles universities and says, these are the food service people you must use. Why? Because they meet their deadlines, they stick to their budgets, they really become your advocate. You want those. Now, the second way is cold calling. You'll note I've lined it through. I'm going to skip it for now. It is not my favorite thing, nor will I ever do it. Networking. Networking is going to be, I would say, starting in September, it's going to explode. And you need to be prepared for that. And one of the things that you really need to think about when you're out there in front of people is, how do people post-COVID want to be greeted? And you have to sort of feel it out. Do they want to shake your hand? They may not. Do they want to just touch elbows? They may not. They certainly probably don't want you to hug them. So you really need to figure out how they want to engage. That's important. Now, once you've met somebody in your networking environment, here's where we all fall down, and it's follow-up. And we do that because, all right, we meet them, and maybe we're fortunate enough that we get a meeting and nothing else ever happens. Well, that really, that was a waste of time and money. So you want to start to follow up, and we'll go through all of that. The other way to initiate, obviously, is setting up a meeting. And it's not going to be easy, because I will tell you, research has shown that many of your clients have been bombarded with requests for meetings, and they're trying to take it easy themselves. And, you don't want to go in there and say, I want your work. You want to solve a problem for them. What is their problem? What is the biggest problem they have with respect to food service and what they want to do? You want to be the person that they go, these are the people. They know how to solve my problem. And you want, in the beginning, you want to provide them with information. You don't want to do the work yet. You want a contract to do that. Okay, so what is networking really all about? It's events. Now, you want to be where your clients are. If I want a healthcare client, I want to go to a healthcare event. I don't want to go to a higher education event if I don't do that kind of work. So it requires a little work on your part to find out who's doing what and when. Obviously, warm referrals. If someone says to you, listen, I'm going to talk to Joe Smith. He's going to be at this event, and I'm going to tell him to look for you because I want you two to meet. What could be better? The other way is if someone just says, I think they're going to be there. When you arrive at check-in, ask that individual, has Joe Smith arrived? I really wanted to connect with him. If the person at the desk isn't too busy, they may even get up and introduce you. So don't forget to do that. Then we're back to the follow-up. What do? Don't come back and have a pile of business cards, lay them on your desk, and that's the end. They have to go into a system. We'll talk about what kinds of systems you can use, but with a date, when you met them, information about when you met them. I've read here, I know that many people's databases with my name say that, so that makes them remember me. Whatever works, right? And then remember, networking is a two-way street. And by that, I mean, with networking, you're looking for leads. It's a clue, an indication of a clue, right? And it has to go two ways. If someone gives you a lead at an event and they say, I heard that so-and-so was going to be doing a project, and I understand they're going to put a restaurant on the first floor. You may want to talk to them. Terrific. So you keep that, you let in your database that you use, who gave you that clue? And then what the outcome? What did you ultimately win the project? Now, you owe them something. You don't owe them, I guess it depends on the size of the project, but what you owe them is think about a lead that might help them. So keep that in mind. It is a two-way street, and people that do a lot of networking, if they continue to give people leads and nothing comes back, they will stop giving leads. Okay, so how do you start, right? Your approach should be really defined by your marketing plan. And I'm going to assume that everyone on this webinar has one of those. If not, when we're done, maybe you can start. You need to decide, how do you approach those prospects? With a shotgun approach, you know, throwing spaghetti at the wall, right? That approach is extraordinarily costly, and it's usually ineffective. Now, what they call rifle approach is very targeted. Obviously, it's less costly. It's more effective because, as I said in the beginning, you're identifying exactly who you want to talk to. You're not wasting your time. And really, you know, what you want to do is to create a long-term relationship. That's what's important. People hire and rehire people that they like working with. The other thing that you might do, you might say, no, that's good, but I want this particular project. It's huge. I'm going to be able to use it to benefit the firm. That's a singular opportunity. They come along once in a while, and obviously you need to research to make sure that that's worthwhile. Now, I mentioned before, people forget. And I think during the pandemic, people did forget. They forgot maybe who their friends were, who helped them out. And if you weren't on Zoom calls with them or Google Meet or whatever it was, they really did forget you. You know, faces are what people remember. And I know a lot of us have done a lot of Zooming during this pandemic, but at least people saw your face and remembered that you were interested enough in them to show up. Now, your calls and your meetings actually have 3 different phases. Your initial phase, where you meet them at an event or wherever, and then the potential phase, where you've had a meeting now, you get an opportunity, you submit a proposal, and then there's the harvest phase, and that is you win the project. You get a contract, and you are able to begin work for your company. And that's the best part. Now, I talked about systems, CRM systems, in the beginning. And CRM, client relationship management systems. There are some very, very expensive ones. There are some that are very inexpensive, but you must have something. And the reason you must is, how do you track who you've spoken with, who you've met at that event? Have you called them back? Have you gotten an opportunity? If you can't do that, you're wasting money. You really need to be able to know the information. Now, when you look at systems very quickly, is it compatible with whatever software you have? That's important. There are certain systems that are really terrific, but they may not work with the software you have. I don't want anyone to have to incur enormous expense right now. And then the availability. You want to be able to get real-time information. To get a report of who you've spoken to, what's come out of it, if that takes hours, you don't want that. You want something that's quick. You want something that you can put on your iPad or in your phone, so you're on the way to the meeting and you can look something up on it very quickly, have that data available. And again, flexibility, it has to be easy to use. Let's face it, how many times have you tried to get onto a website or something and you've been frustrated, and what have you done? You've said, move on, and that's what you'll do here as well. Okay, people ask me all the time, am I being a pest? No, there's persistence, and then there's a pest, right? Now, you want to continue researching these people as you move forward. But here's some information, right? 80% of the success is after the 5th call. So we say all the time, business development people and technical people within a firm that seller doers that do business development, they have to be a little thick-skinned. The first call, they may not take your call, or they'll say, send some information to so-and-so, and that's the end. Now, you may have to call them a couple of more times to get a meeting. So we'll talk about how you can engage them so that they definitely, after that 5th call, want to talk to you. And I talked about building a relationship. You want to make a friend after you have a project. You want to make a real friend. You don't want your clients to feel like they're being used. You don't like it, nor do they. You have to keep your promises. I know everyone now has difficulty with supply line. Be honest. People understand it. Everyone has similar situations. So if you say to them, listen, I can't get it for you next week as I normally would, but I can start your project in 3 weeks and I will still keep you on schedule, and you do that, boy, you're going to have a client for life. Okay, so let's talk about networking equals lead development, right? So here are things that are of value. Personal introduction, as I said. Now, you have to do market and client research. And I know if you're a small firm, that's not easy to do. But you want some background. And now between Google, LinkedIn, there's a plethora of ways that you can get background on that client. You can often even find out who your competition was, who they used in the past. So you need to do that because that makes your networking and the lead you get there, that turns that into a potential project. You need to know market trends. If you say, oh, well, I've only ever dealt with hotels, new hotels, well, you're going to find there may be a lot of renovation done. So maybe now you want to pitch your services. You want food service in a renovation. You're going to need it, right? So you want to keep that in mind. Try to stay on top of that. That information would also go in your CRM system. And, seek facts from truth. It's really important. It's not just an old Chinese proverb. It really is important when you're engaging a client, and in particular for the first time. And, the other thing is teaming and partnering ideas. As a food service consultant, maybe not only are architects your best opportunities, your mechanical electrical engineering are your best opportunities. So look at when you're doing your networking, maybe partnering your leads. So they hear something, you say, I heard of this, and you'll be surprised. Again, they become a source and you become a source for them. Now, who's in your network? Everyone and anyone. Professional organizations like FCSI, my professional organization, SMPS, where you've got an organization that's national, international, you should know people within the organization. And then civic organizations. I have a quick example. I taught a session on business development to an architect one time, and we were talking about just this, everyone and anyone. And they came back, one young lady said, do we do restaurants? And one of the partners I thought was going to faint. And she said, yeah, we do restaurants. And the girl said, I wish I'd known that. My boyfriend is a partner in a restaurant. We just gave the contract to someone else. So make sure that anyone and everyone knows what you do and knows how you do it, so they know to come to you. Okay, how do we network? We do it at events. And I said you're going to hear me say plan a lot. You should not attend an event and just say, I'm just going to go and see who's there. That's a waste of your money and a waste of your time. You want to look at, okay, let's use healthcare again as an example. You want to go to a healthcare event because you want to meet the facilities or the whomever, the chief operating officer of a certain healthcare group. And you find out that through your other network that this person is going to be attending this event, right? So you go there, yes, you're going to meet others, but you have a plan. You've got to figure out how you get to meet him, whether it's asking when you arrive or talking to someone you know and say, do you know Joe Smith? And then ask, will you introduce me? So that's the best way to handle it. And then after you get back with your pocket full of business cards, oh, here's a trick. So you don't hand out anybody else's business card. Put yours in one pocket, the ones you get in another pocket. Ladies, I always try to wear a jacket if they're ladies on this call, so that I can do that. That way I don't give anyone else's card away. Okay, so follow up. You get back and you should have notes of where where they met, where you met them, perhaps what you discussed. All that has to go into your CRM system. And then you need the follow up. If it's a hot lead, you may shoot them an email. I enjoyed chatting with you. It was great meeting you. I would love to continue the conversation. Perhaps we can get, if you have a few minutes, I'd like to stop by the office. But don't let those cards sit in a pile on your desk because, again, waste of time, waste of money. And you want to exchanging that information with people you meet. They might say to you, I'm here to meet so-and-so. You're like, oh, I know him. Let me introduce you. That's a good thing. Now, maintain confidentiality. I know you often sign NDAs and you want to make sure that everyone on your staff understands what that means. It's more than just signing a document. You want to be able to feel confident that anything that is in, whether it's an RFP or your discussion with that person, is not shared with anyone else. I have a quick story. An architect in New York City received a big project, and he was told by the owner, I'm giving this to you for many reasons, but I need complete confidentiality. Guy said, perfect. He proceeded to go to dinner that night with his wife and, hey, how was your day? Oh, he's very excited. I got this fabulous opportunity. He's telling his wife all about it. He gets a tap on his shoulder. It's the client. You don't have it any longer. So understand how important confidentiality can be. The other thing is you have to stay in touch. And as I said earlier, it takes more than one touch. Whether it's, you may find an article that you think they might be interested in. You forward it to them in an email. You may find a project that you've done or someone you know has done, and you might say, show them this project. Is this what you're thinking about? So you want to make sure you stay in touch with those clients. Now, what are your objectives with your potential client contact, right? There's two main reasons. You want to meet the decision maker, that's reactive. Now, proactive is you want to introduce the client to your firm. Now, it may be that it's not the CEO that you've met, but you may meet a project manager within the organization. You introduce the firm and they say, oh yeah, we We do that kind of thing. We're always looking for good food service people. Gee, this is good information. You know what? Let's see if I can introduce you to whoever the decision maker is. So you want to be proactive. Don't look at it like, oh, you're just a PM. No, 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 no. And someday those people will be a CEO. So you do want to stay in touch. Now, the purpose of your client contact, obviously you want to get information. You want to know what they're doing. And the urgency is twofold. If they're looking to do a project or they've started already, they haven't hired a food service consultant, you want to get on board right away, right? So that doesn't pass you by. You need to understand the client's urgency, and that falls back to when you're doing your planning. Are they looking for 12 months out or 24 months out? So that rolls into your planning. And what is different? What makes you different from your competitors, right? What problems can you solve that maybe they can't? You want that information. And I would say in your CRM system, you keep data on your competitors. So you want to know what they're doing. You want to know how they're approaching clients so you can be different, right? You want to differentiate yourself. So project information, recently completed projects that are similar to your prospects, as I've said before. And we'll talk a little bit about that with social media. But if once you meet somebody and I'll use healthcare again because it's easy, and you've just completed a project, email that person a little project summary sheet. It was this big, we renovated, this is what we did, Now you've touched base with them again. They're going to remember you because you remembered what they were interested in, right? You want to make sure you're surveying the interests of those clients. And you can do that by attending some of their client events that talk about that, right? They talk about what their thinking is, what they want to do. And you can do a survey yourself if you have the time, or hire a consultant to do it, that you can survey multiple firms about how they build relationships. Who do they hire? I attended a session with a healthcare facility in Boston during the pandemic. And what he said was, I have a lot of work to do, but right now during this pandemic, I am only talking to the people I know and I trust. So don't contact me now, but definitely contact me when this thing is over, because I will look to talk to new people. So think about that as you're planning who you're going to contact and how. I told you I'd mention cold calls again. The reason I hate cold calls is, how many do you get that you ignore? Think about it, right? So instead of a cold call, what if you were to spend a few minutes warming the call up? By that, I mean, you might call a colleague or even another client of yours. Do you know so-and-so? Do you mind if I use your name as a reference? That takes the chill right out of that call and makes it a warm call. And that is what you want. Emails. How many emails do you get every day? I don't even know how many. You want to make sure that your email has to engage them. They need to want to open it. If they think it's just another solicitation, forget it. It'll go in that folder that we all have that says, yeah, I'll read that later when I have time, and time never happens. The other thing, it's the same with your voicemail messages. Keep your voicemail message succinct, and you want to make it engaging. You want them to respond, because if they don't, you're wasting time. Unannounced visits, never, never, never. Don't go knocking on somebody's door and say, here I am, because they're busy people too. You might call and say, I'm going to be in the neighborhood. If do you mind? I'd like to come in and show you. That's fine, but make sure that you let them know you're coming. So take some time. You want goals of your face-to-face. You want your minimum of information. You want to engage them, and you want to prepare ahead. And you want to be persistent. And if they do take your call, if they do take your meeting, you don't need a letter. You need a quick note. And I will tell you, you need to have personal notes. If I get a handwritten note from someone, I save it. I remember them. They took a minute. It doesn't have to be your treatise. It has to be 2 sentences thanking them, but do it. It's extraordinarily important, and they will remember you. Okay, we're back to CRM. That has really, in your tracking system, it really has 4 stages. As your initial stage, you get those business cards, you get the data in there, where you met them, what you talked about, blah, blah, blah. Primary stage. Now, what are you doing? You set up a date within there, so you have a tickler that you want to set up a meeting with them, or at least a phone call to engage further. And then you have your growth stage. Now, they're starting to come back, ask you more questions. You're having regular conversations. You're sending them something. And you may even get an RFP. You may get a request. Then you get to your refining stage. Refining, you've won a project. And once you've won that project, you want to make sure that, again, a note, we're so thrilled to be able to be working with you on this. Thank you so much. It's important. It sounds silly. It's important. Okay, so tracking your leads and your CRM, let's continue it, right? If you're looking at system, what do you want? You want to be able to retrieve information from when you've met somebody, what the meeting has, if there have been fruits of the meeting, what happens next. And then you also need to set up, the next meeting. The system that you look at has to meet your needs. The software, it has to have sales reporting. There's those metrics. It's got to be measurable. The only way is through there. And you need to get buy-in from everyone. Normally, if this starts from the president, CEO, then you'll get buy-in from everyone. And you want to have a return on that investment. You're spending money, so you should be able to see, okay, in those 6 months that I planned, I have gotten a project. So that's important. And there's an increasing effectiveness of your lead tracking system. Once it starts to roll and you see it, you'd be surprised how happy you will be. Okay, finding common ground. Now, keeping your relationships active. If during the pandemic, for whatever the reason, perhaps you didn't call people or they didn't take your call, now's the time. You want to reactivate those. You want to get in front of those people. You want to attend their events. You want to give them a call, see if they want to grab a cup of coffee, add a value-added service. Listen, we added X to our normal food service, and we'd love to talk to you about it, right? They talk about roadblocks to greatness. Roadblocks to greatness are just not following up. You can be great, but you've got to follow up, right? You got to stay the course of that plan. And you want the marketing and business development, you want that edge. You want an edge. So you want to understand, why does the client buy and why do they not buy? What are their objections? How many times have you heard, no, I don't have the time. I don't have any money right now. There are no needs. And I don't know you, so why would I hire you? Think about those things and make sure you have a way of overcoming them. Obviously, if they don't have money, it's one thing, but think about there are ways around that. Okay, leveraging social media. And I understand that we're not all large firms that have a team of people that handle social media. I am going to tell you, you can all have LinkedIn. Use LinkedIn. Your clients check LinkedIn. Make sure it's updated with the recent projects that you've done. That's important. Make sure your profile is current. The profile of your people are also current. You can do blogging or microblogging. That doesn't take long. Video sharing, photo sharing, podcasts. Do it with your phone and get it out there. Let them know. There's the different widgets, mobile media. Again, that takes a little special knowledge, but blogging, microblogging, that doesn't. And LinkedIn certainly doesn't. Okay, pros of social media. And I want to make sure that I'm okay with time. So let's see. The pros are definitely you connect with your audience on a human level, definitely. It will develop you to be a thought leader, develop people within your firm to be thought leaders. People want to hire thought leaders, right? They will increase, you go to Google and who pops up first? Well, those are people that have plenty of stuff in their social media. So the search engine grabs them first. And it is an effective and an affordable lead generator. People if they looked at your LinkedIn and see you've done these 3 very recent renovations to the food service in these 3 hospitals, by George, they're going to come back to you, right? So you've got all that. And it manages your public relations effort. Not everyone has a public relations effort, but social media is a small, sort of a mini public relations effort. And it allows you to also communicate internally and externally, and definitely make sure everyone understands what they can put forward in their own social media, right? It helps recruit employees. Employees today go to your LinkedIn page, go to your website. They want to make sure this is a company they want to work for. And it monetizes your effort. Let's face it. It's a cheap enough way to get your name out there. Now, there are cons. There's no question, right? It takes time for your results to come in. It is an investment of time, and it's a focus that is required. We can't always be able to do that. It will control your brand message. If you don't have a brand message, when we're done, start to think about one, all right? And again, I mentioned making sure everyone knows what they can and cannot put forward on social media. And that's so that company secrets, proprietary information doesn't get out there. People sometimes don't do it intentionally. They think they're helping, and it, obviously doesn't. Copyright infringement. Be very careful what you post. Now, here is a simple, follow the arrows, right? You develop your strategic business plan. It identifies clients. You develop relationships with those clients, pre-position for targeting opportunities. You develop a proposal that is tailored to that client's needs because you've met him. And you prepare a presentation if one is required. You're awarded the project. Tremendous. You debrief. Debrief wins and losses. I'm thrilled that we won this project. Can you just tell me what we did? I want to make sure we do the same thing next time. It's important. Okay, Now, developing that business plan. Okay, the process of doing it is 60% research. And that research can be, Google searches and things like that, or it could be sitting down with your firm and talking to people. What do you know? And then planning. Who is it you're going to talk to? What do you want from them? How long is that going to take? And how are you going to do that? Right? You want to also research your competition, because believe me, everybody's out there now. It's like they're all jumping off the diving board at the same time. Understand through the research your clients' likes and dislikes, and note that so that that's in your plan. If you're going after Joe Smith at a university, find out this is what he likes and this is what he doesn't like, so you don't stub your toe after working so hard to get in. The second thing is to identify those market sectors. What's happening in what sector? I mean, don't chase something that you're really not interested in. Don't even bother. Sometimes you need help developing this plan. There are plenty of people out there that can help you. There are consultants that do it. You can check it out online. Okay, now you want the internal planning helps you be ready, and you want honest internal feedback, right? So when you're doing this, you can have somebody in your organization go, oh, no, we tried to work with them and it was a disaster. The thing you need is a budget. You need to know, now you're going to start networking. You're going to go to events. What is that going to cost? How much can you afford to put forward to win the clients you want to win? Be it, something simple as developing a new website, which is costly, obviously, but you really need to have a budget so everyone knows. And then, you have to have the right technology, and you want to execute. That is so important. Train your people. If they don't know how to do this, train them. And evaluate your effort, and evaluate your individuals with their effort. That is, you've got to be able to measure it. I say metrics. And so I am out of breath, and I think Amy has any questions that were put in the Q&A.
Okay. Hi again. Thank you so much for that. We don't have any questions yet, but if you think of any in the next few seconds, go ahead and throw those in the Q&A. I just wanted to, I really appreciated all of the hints about how to, when we're thinking about events and getting ready to go to an event, how do we use those, that time effectively while we're there. And I just want to say, from the event planner's standpoint, you made a comment about checking in at the registration counter for others that you're looking to meet, and even, colleagues or other people. And I will say that, having run those registration counters, I am more than happy to usually be able to answer those questions when there's not a huge line and help people make those connections. That's part of what your professional association is there for. So I wholeheartedly second that comment that you made a little earlier in the presentation. And I also wanted to point out that, we're also here. You talked a little bit about social media and blogging opportunities and those kinds of things. I wanted to say, again, as part of their professional association, one of the things that we are able to do is help set up those, those opportunities. So we've done some webinars on your LinkedIn profile, helping people build those out. We have those resources available. We have people available who can help kind of get started on what a blogging portfolio might look like, or what it takes to start something like that. So for those of you who are on the call with us, if you think of something like that you might see as a benefit of your membership and something that we as an organization can help you with, please share that with us, because those are the things that make a professional association worth your membership dues, which is also, we want you to get an ROI on that as well. So with that said, let me find my final notes, and I want to thank you, Sharon, again for joining us today. I really appreciated this session, and I personally got a lot out of it as well. So thank you for our
Very welcome.
participants. Don't forget that you can watch all of these webinars on our website or on our YouTube channel. So they are all available there as well. These are counting towards your CEU credits. So if you have watched this video either on demand or live, please remember that you can track these sessions for 1 CEU credit. And it's never too late or too early to make sure that those credits are getting tracked for those of you who are members of FCSI. Also, don't forget that our On Tap podcasts are available every Tuesday. We have a new episode. Season 2 just started a couple weeks ago. And we are really excited about the lineup for this season of On Tap podcasts. So please check those out. Again, available on our YouTube channel, our website, and also available through any of the podcasting services you might use, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, that kind of thing. And finally, we are so excited that we are finally going to have our in-person event this August 24th and 25th in Orlando. Please, if you have not registered yet, all the information for the symposium is available on the website. And we also really look forward to seeing everybody face to face. So again, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Sharon, for all of your
welcome.
information. And as Sharon shared with you, her email address at the end, last slide, if you are interested in getting in touch with her, if you want to send some messages to me, I can also make that connection. Again, thank you all for being with us, and we'll see you in Orlando. And thank you again to Sharon.
Take care. Have a good day.
You too.